and then issues related to human that become parts of the ingredient in certain products, and also issue related to najis or unclean. So basically, it can be summarized whether it is legal or illegal, whether it's clean or unclean. In another context, maybe called as Thayyiban or non-Thayyiban. So the product that available in the market that become the issue, as I would like to highlight here. For example, using the product that available in the market, cosmetic product known as kupute, right? Kupute. And finally, according to the what we call the judgments of the community as well as the fatwa, this product has been banned because of mercury issue is too high in that product, so becomes harmful to the consumer and it's not suitable in another words, so not in line with the halal and Thayyiban concept, or specifically not in line with the Thayyiban aspect, that is what we call good as well as healthy. So the another issue related to the halal product that commonly debate in our society, that is what we call KOPI, LUWAK, MUSANG. So nowadays, this issue has been settled already because, you know, as far as Muslim and non-Muslim keep to drink what we call the coffee, including also KOPI, LUWAK, MUSANG. But the problem is, as you know, the way to produce this KOPI, LUWAK, MUSANG also very significant. So produced from najis of luar, this is the way how to produce that kind of the coffee. So become the issue, as I mentioned to you, whether it is considered as najis or otherwise. So in this regard, we have to refer to so many mazhab in order to know the real status of this product. And finally, the fatwa has been issued. I'm not going to detail about the fatwa of the product, but in my situation today, just to highlight the issue before I give the solutions, what we call based on the halal education. And the next issue, as an example, regarding about linde siput babi dalam kosmetik. So as in the image, they so many very high and international product, what we call use this kind of ingredients in order to produce what we call the cosmetic, which has been used not only by non-Muslim as well as the non-Muslim. Because sometimes from the name it says, linde siput babi, so babi here associated with the pig, so sometimes the Muslim become sensitive with the name. And finally, how to settle this problem? We need also to know what we call the fatwa behind this babi, and then I explain to you briefly in my slide here. But again, I'm not going to detail about what is the fatwa behind that, but I would like to highlight the issue before we come to our second part of the discussion, that is halal education as the means to uphold the sanctity of halal and Thayyiban product. The next issue related to plasma darah or the blood. As I mentioned to you earlier, based on the verse of the Quran, and especially carrions, the blood, the pork, and slaughtering without halal or non-halal by the Muslim or non-Muslim, stunning or non-stunning, all this becomes what we call sensitive by the Muslim. So because of that, what we call the halal science, halal product, halal education becomes very attractive disciplines by the Muslim as well as by the non-Muslim. So nowadays we have so many products that relate that use plasma darah for certain purpose. So therefore, for example, if we look to the process, some people use the concept maybe it's halal, can be solve the problem of plasma darah in the product. But finally, if we say that the halal product mixed with plasma darah, and plasma darah, as mentioned in the Quran, haram, so maybe the final result must be haram. This is the general concept. because so therefore we have to understand istihala, istibra, and so on. And then to know all these issues, we need also to study, especially what we call the subject related to the Sharia. But no doubt, the Sharia alone cannot uphold, cannot maintain the sanctity of halal product without the assistance or the help from scientists or technology disciplines. And then the second part of my discussion today, since the organizer requests me to talk something related to Negara Brunei, perspective halal. So therefore, why not? We have to look the little bit overview of halal industry in Negara Brunei Darussalam, especially after the establishment of halal food control divisions, or what we call Bahagian Kawalan Makanan Halal (BKMH) in 2002. And so this division play a very important role, especially to materialize their duties in relation to Halal Meat Act 1998, the Enforcement Order Certificate and Halal Label 2005, and control the entry of meat that will be marketed in Negara Brunei Darussalam, and monitoring and observe the running of the center, the center of halal slaughtering certificate and so on. And for your information, Negara Brunei Darussalam is a very unique country because all halal restaurants in Negara Brunei Darussalam have to obtain, have to get the permissions or halal certificate, otherwise cannot be declared as halal restaurant in Negara Brunei Darussalam. In another word, it is a must. It is a must to obtain or to get a halal certificate from the authority, especially from the BKMH under the Ministry of Religious Affairs. Okay, now we found so many problems and so many issues, and as mentioned by the previous speakers, these issues, this problem have to be settled not only by the Sharia scholars, including also scientists, especially those who related to the technology, in order to verify or authentications of the products. So we appreciate all the halal institutions in the world, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, as well as in Thailand and in Europe. So as far as Brunei is concerned, especially in the Universiti Islam Sultan Sharif Ali, or UNISA, we try to solve the problem based on education. So that is why we established halal education in Negara Brunei Darussalam, especially after the titah of His Majesty Sultan Haji Hassanah Bolkiah of Brunei Darussalam in the UNISA convocations 2016, and after that immediately the UNISA take the actions and what we call make an i'lan to open the jawatan that related to the halal. For the first time, during that time I was in the IPPH, Institute Penyelidikan Produk Halal of Universiti Putra Malaysia, as a contract staff, and then when my contract expired in the UPM, I what we call continue my academic journey in UNISA, for who are responsible to design, establish Halalan Thayyiban Research Center in Negara Brunei Darussalam. I understood that this is one of the contribution in order to settle the problem that we aware today, whether in relation to marketing, in relation to branding, in relation to standard, in relation to the policies, in the relation to the authentication, traceability, and so on. So therefore, we established the center called as Pusat Penyelidikan Halalan Thayyiban. And the word Halalan Thayyiban is originally or derived from the words of the Holy Quran, as you already know, Kulu mimma fil ardi halalan thayyiban. PPHT as another institution becomes a one-stop center, as a research center, as a study and teaching as well as a professional service center. So in this regard, the objective also including as one-stop center, as I mentioned to you, so no need to read again and again. But basically, our main duty, including three aspects, as I mentioned to you. And we have our own vision, mission, and motto. Even though we, the name of us called as a center, but our responsibility as we actually like the faculty, because we offer also the program from the bachelor until the postgraduate, master, and PhD. And in PPHD or Pusat Penyelidikan Halal Thayyiban, or English what we call Halalan Thayyiban Research Center, have two laboratory, what we call Halal Management and Laws, and the second one, Laboratory of Halal Science and Authentication. And for your knowledge, the A related to Sharia, related to the social science, and B related to the science and technology. And Alhamdulillah, the government already approved our laboratory with a budget. And then Pusat Pendidikan Halal Thayyiban is planning to move to the next buildings, what we call far away from the center, around I think 80 kilometers, with the laboratories, and inshallah will operate soon, tentatively in January 2022. So by that we can play our role more than social and Sharia perspective, including also halal science and also innovation as well as into authentications. So in regard to academic program, as I mentioned to you, we have Bachelor of Halal Science. At the same time also, we have minor program in Halal Science. And Alhamdulillah, even we have very small academic staff, but we have very big number of the students in this level. So this indicate that the student, especially what we call the people of Brunei are interested about halal issue and aware about the importance of that. What we call as supported or confirmed by the very well-known Muslim scholars called Imam Al-Ghazali in his book Ihya Ulumuddin, who say that talbu al-halal faridatun ala kulli muslim wa muslimah. That means to command or to know, to study, to teach, or to disseminate halal science or halal knowledge is a compulsory for the Muslim and non-Muslim. Okay, for the next bachelor, we have also master program, whether by research or by coursework and dissertation. And recently we offer by coursework only. So very interesting. And as far as the halal education is concerned, especially in Indonesia, we have to design to make sure that the graduate of halal, Bachelor of Halal Science, can answer and respond to the issue, to the question, to the problem which has been raised by the community. As for this reason, the student have to master. Please move to the next slide. Among the list of the course offered for the bachelor program, Sharia and Life. Number one, we have to make sure that as far as the life is concerned, we have to be considered that Sharia as the way, as the means to understand our life and to make sure that we are happy not only in this life as well as in the hereafter. And the next subject, what we call Introduction to the Halal Thayyiban. And the next one, objective, the Islamic law in halal industry. When we come to the objective, this is a maqasid. Because in our contemporary life, sometimes we are not able to find directly the evidence from the Holy Quran and the Sunnah, especially if, for example, halal product become very difficult to detect. So therefore, we have to know the maqasid of the Sharia in order to know the status of the product. So this one also need at least one semester to understand and to study, because so many material what we call should be understood And then, so I hope the students are able to apply the objective of the Islamic law in the halal contemporary product that they are facing today. And the next one, legal maxim in halal industry. This is what we call al-qawaid al-fiqhiyah. This is also the means to understand the Sharia based on the al-qawaid al-fiqhiyah, which has been said by the Muslim scholars. And normally, this legal maxim considered as the saying of the Muslim scholar in the light of the Quran and the Sunnah. So therefore, very interesting. We consider this is also the evidence for the Muslim to justify or before issue any verdicts that related to the halal product. And no doubt halal fatwa, we have a different, even though we have Brunei Darussalam, they have their own fatwa, Malaysia have the fatwa. Thousand fatwa has been issued by the Mufti. So why not? We have to expose this kind of halal fatwa to our students to make sure that they are they are updating the knowledge that related to the halal, and finally the way also to train them to understand the status of the product. Halal logistic and philosophy of halal and haram in Islam also very important because everything need a philosophy, right? Philosophy of Sharia, and then we know what is the wisdom behind halal and haram in Islam. Sometimes we may understand the wisdom and sometimes we may not understand. So we regularly question by non-Muslim why, for example, the pork or the carrions or the blood has been prohibited by the Islamic law. That is why we have to teach the student to know the philosophy behind that. So because we as people or as the human being, we are we are we are very limited knowledge. We are also in the status of weaknesses, but to know the fact or the reality, let we trust what has been what we call mentioned in the Quran and with the is a philosophy. Right? Okay, halal lottery management also become very big issue. And then we hope in the future, what we call Indonesia may lead the halal lottery management, not Muslim, non-Muslim country, for example, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, or Thailand. So since Indonesia have a very large population of the Muslim populations, so why not? We have to understand halal lottery management in line with the Sharia as well as in line with the modern practice of slaughtering by using very good technology in for to save the cost as well as for the safety or as well as for the fulfill the requirement of the Sharia. And no doubt the next one, halal industry food and management and halal policy standard and regulation. So many standards being practiced here and there. So I consider this is the applications or in another word, operational definitions about something related to the halal by which all halal industry players have to practice in according to the halal policy or according to the standard and according to the regulation. Because sometimes what has been found in Quran and in Sunnah or what has been found in legal maxim, what has been found in so many hadiths, sometimes contradict and in abstract manner, so difficult for industrial player to understand. So that's why we put what we call under the policy or standard and regulations. So therefore, the industrial player have to comply with all this kind of the policy. Halal product service and management, and then the most important verses of the Quran of halal and haram. This subject may be new. I still remember my Professor Dr. Shuhaimi Mustafa, what we call request me to find out what is the real answer based on Quran, based on Sunnah in regard to the halal and haram. So maybe this one 10 more years ago, but finally when I have the opportunity to design what we call the course online in Nagabuna Darussalam in Indonesia, I consider this is a very important subject. And finally, this subject has been offered several semesters in UNISA, and we found hundreds, if not thousands, of the verse of the Quran. repeatedly mention the word halal, repeatedly mention the word haram, repeatedly mention the word mutashabihat, and they so several times mention the word thayyiban. What is the significance behind that? So very interesting when we study about this kind of the subject in order to know what is the secret behind halal, haram, as well as thayyibat, what is the real command of Islam in regard to this. So no doubt we have to refer to the primary source of Sharia, that is Al-Quran, As-Sunnah, and so on. And also we have hadith, we have halal sign in ASEAN. So we'd like to make sure that the student also know the halal sign not only in Brunei as well as in regional area, especially from Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, and so on. So we try to widen the perspective of understanding halal as much as possible, but in line with the concept of Negara Brunei Darussalam, which has been known as Negara Zikir, Negara Zikir, as well as Negara Baldatun Thayyibatun Warabun Ghafur. And then Negara Brunei also practice in according to Mazhab Al-Shafi'i, but does not mean that the another Mazhab cannot be practiced in Brunei, but official Mazhab is Al-Shafi'i. Fake management, administration, and halal tourism, halal restaurant, halal product entrepreneurship, and so on. So this is, I hope with this kind of the knowledge, the student can develop themselves in order to understand halal, haram, mutashab better and better, and finally apply to the society, to the government agency, and so on. And no doubt, the most important one is master and PhD level. So allow me to share maybe the subject that we offer for master and PhD. For the slide, please go to the slide related to the current and future courses, training, and professional service in UNISA. So finally, we conduct several training for the local as well as international participants. We call several names, for example, halal executive course, halal internet audit, halal slaughtering, course on of halal awareness. So I think several courses here, and some of them has been implemented already, alhamdulillah, and some of them still what we call still in practice. Okay. So I think one of for the future, HTRC future direction and the way forward, I in fact have another slide by which I'm not able to share with you because I share only one file. But let me give you briefly about our future planning to make sure that we together may able to uphold the sanctity of halal. So as far as Halal Thayyiban Research Center is concerned, we already have our own strategic planning from 2018 until 2022. So we have 4 strategic core planning. One's related to student academic excellence, development, creativity, innovation as a stream. The second strategic called as empowering research and publications. The third strategic core is professional service, knowledge transfer, and community engagement. And number 4 is staff development and for community. So under all these strategic planning, we have several activities. For example, to upgrade the name of our center to become, so this slide, actually, I do not attach to you the another slide, but I have, so therefore, sorry for that, but I try to summarize to you. Because I believe that to make sure that our center can compete or can fulfill our duties, that namely to uphold the sanctity of halal, we have to think beyond. So as I mentioned to you, number 1, we are thinking to upgrade our center from the center to faculty, and in fact this has been approved by our university already, but we are still in the process of finding the new name to replace Halal Thayyiban Research Center. And so we try to diversify the program, also including the number of the admissions, including also what we call to increase the number of academic staff. And then for your information, if you are interested, UNISA is now what we call at glance several academic positions in several faculties, including also for the academic position in Halalan Thayyiban Research Center. So please do not miss the flight. If you are interested, please apply as the position. And also we are going to increase the number of lecturer, tutor. We would like to make sure that we have more global networking. And Alhamdulillah today, we have our collaborator, AACIM, because before this we have we collaborate with UPM, with UM, with UITM, with several universities in Malaysia, in Indonesia, for example, Malang University and Malang Islamic University, and so on. But now, Alhamdulillah, we come across with the new institution. I think very important for us to collaborate. That is AACIM, Asian Associations for Consumer Interest and Marketing. And for your knowledge, we also offer the course called Halal Consumerism. So we hope by offering this course, we need also your expertise to disseminate the knowledge that related to the consumerism. So and then the second strategy, what we call empowering research and publications. So I think in another university also same thing. So therefore, in order to materialize this kind of our future planning, we are looking to have as much as possible the proposal for the research. We want to make sure that we have high impact research, high impact publication and research fund from local as well as from the international fund. And we are going to establish a research group, research collaboration, and also and so on. And then the third strategy called as professional services, knowledge transfer, and community engagement. So under this strategy, we have several action plans, including also research outcome to disseminate to the community, and networking again, and so on. And finally, staff development and work culture as a worksheet. So this is also very important for us to make sure that we always have the strong spirit in order to contribute for the Muslim Ummah, especially for the halal sign, that to uphold the sanctity of halal Thayyiban product. We have to work not just to get the money, but beyond that. That is to be considered the way to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be rewarded not only in this life as well as in the hereafter. So we are together, inshallah, will be in the paradise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because, you know, we spend a lot of more of our time in the campus. So rather than in the mosque or rather than in the surah. So if we want to make sure that what has been spent by us in the campus can be considered also as the ibadah or the worship to Allah SWT, and will be obtain the reward. So therefore, we try to create this kind of the culture among our staff as well as among our stakeholders. So I think this is all for my presentation today. I hope I include what has been requested by the organizer to be presented. Thank you very much again to the organizer for inviting me to present my experience to all my friends, my students, as well as my Muslim in the Indonesia, Malaysia, and worldwide. I end with wabillahi taufiq wa assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Professor Nurdeng. Both of you is the speaker. So now, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to the question and answer session. The question can be written in the Zoom chat, or maybe you can answer directly by mentioning the name, institution, and to whom the question is addressed. You can see here, Ganja, it's many having
yes,
here.
I think we already have some question.
Yes.
And one of the question, maybe I will read and I will show it in the slide PowerPoint. This is especially for Prof. Shuhaimi Mustafa. From Professor Surahman Surya Atmaja, I think it's about things that really make sense to continuing about collaboration. Can you explain how about to prepare the ecosystem for halal and Thayyiban industries? Can you describe to us how about this implemented in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei Darussalam? I think it's not especially for Prof. Shuhaimi Mustafa. I think it can be answered by Prof. Nurdeng because it's about how to make ecosystem and collaboration between Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei Darussalam. Please, Prof. Shuhaimi, maybe there is response from you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ganjar, and also the person who asked the question about the ecosystem, yeah?
Yeah.
So basically, what we need to do is look at the whole supply chain in the halal product, yeah? Because as I told you just now that most of the what component in the halal ecosystem is already established, like the law, the standard, the guideline, the certification process, yeah, is already established. Just that what I would like to share with you is along the ecosystem we have to identify the gap or the line that was broken, example, yeah, the line that was broken, and try to fill that gap or connect the broken line with whatever the resources available, not just in one country but also in some other countries. For example, I told you in my presentation that we are not having enough like raw material ingredients, yeah, raw material ingredient. Example is the pharmaceutical product. One example is the pharmaceutical product. We have almost everything, the system, the infrastructure, the enforcement, yeah, but we don't have this particular active pharmaceutical ingredient, the very important component in the pharmaceutical, yeah, we don't have that. So what we can do is we have to outsource, yeah, because we identify the gap, we identify the weakness, we don't have that, then we have to outsource. In order to outsource that, we have to collaborate with our partners, yeah, from other countries. I think that's what we can do, because for me, the system is already there. The ecosystem is also there. That's why in the beginning, I don't want to touch much on the certification and everything. Yeah, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, we have that. Just that there are a few things that we are lacking, that making the whole supply chain broken. Then we have to find that spot and then fill the gap. So that is the most important currently, because we cannot go back to the 10 years ago where we have to reestablish everything from zero and so on. So we cannot afford to have that anymore nowadays. What we want to do is we want to move forward. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Shuhaimi. Prof. Nurdeng?
Okay, based on the question which has been raised in chatting,
Yes.
number one is related to what we call
preparing the ecosystem for halal Thayyiban.
Yeah, and in fact, in Negara Brunei Darussalam, as I mentioned to you earlier, there is very strict in terms of halal certificate, very strict, and so therefore I found that here is the restaurant here very clean, and we do not have the open restaurant as in Malaysia as well as in in Indonesia, because the concept of restaurant here and then the market here very exclusive, because easy for the government to monitor about halal and haram. So restaurant have to ask the permissions from the government, especially from BKMH, for the halal certificate. Otherwise, they will be fine. Will fine. Akan kena saman. So and then the authority regularly dia pergi audit di sana sini. So therefore, and then what we call if you want to import the product from outside to Negara Brunei Darussalam, and number one, you should have what we call the agents, the name of the agent to import the product outside, and so many things have to do to fulfill, because here little bit very strict, and you know Mazhab Syafi'i also very strict, not as a Mazhab Hanafi, and including also the meat, especially in relation to the slaughtering, right? Because here not commonly allowed to have the meat which has been used standing as the mean to slaughtering. Therefore, what we call Negara Brunei Darussalam or the authority of Negara Brunei Darussalam have to make sure all of these things. And for your information, recently one of my students, since we have our master and PhD student who complete his dissertations with the topic in Malay, of course. This one is the topic pelaksanaan perintah sijil halal dan label halal pindaan 2017. Perspektif pengusaha perniagaan di negara Brunei Darussalam. So in another word, in order to empowering or to uphold the sanctity of halal and Thayyiban product, especially amongst restaurants owner, they have to what we call to follow what we call this pindaan 2017. So as I mentioned to you, it's compulsory. Right, it's compulsory. And one more thing. If, for example, because you mentioned chatting about the cosmetic product and so on, so if the product has been verified by certain countries, for example, by Indonesia, by Malaysia, that is halal. So normally Brunei allowed to import that kind of the product. But at the end also, if the consumer found out about that product will be sent to the laboratory of the Ministry of Health. And several times, the product which has been imported from overseas be found as non-halal ingredients there. So this is the authority of the verification from the laboratory of Ministry of Health, not from the UNISA, but maybe later on, as I mentioned to you in my presentation, that UNISA is going to have their own laboratory with the high-end technology. If we, for example, our own laboratory being accredited by the government, so maybe this is also the means to assist the government to verify or to authentify what we call the halal product in Negara Brunei Darussalam. So this is the summary of my response to chatting that you made in the chatting section. Thank you.
The second question is from Agus Sianto. It's addressed to Professor Shuhaimi. You mentioned about diverse market segment and blockchain, and also big data as opportunity for halal and Thayyiban industry. Is it including using digital marketing tools to reach marketing segment? Is halal and Thayyiban industries already adopt digital marketing to leverage consumer from internet? And this question also Professor Nurdeng can add the answer, please.
Thank you, Prof. Regarding the IT, the use of IT in the marketing of halal product, as I mentioned in my slide that this element I put under opportunity. And just to share with you that this IT technology is not being widely used in the halal industry. and actually it offers huge opportunities lah for us to develop the platform, the system to use this digital approach in marketing halal product. There are a few companies developing this in Malaysia. Yeah, for example, the company developed the database to list all the product that has halal certificate in Malaysia. But that one is not for marketing purposes. Just like, you know, the database, you can check whether this product is halal or not. But only a few, I can say only a few companies developing the system to do the halal transaction using digital, yeah. Like, you know, they order the halal product through this platform, and then they will get really halal product. And the company that developed that platform must ensure they have to also develop the system to track and trace whether the product is really halal or not. So they have to hold the responsibility. Yeah, the company that developed the system must hold the responsibility to check and only to sell halal product, so that we as a consumer will have more confidence. This platform developed by this company marketing halal product, and they will do everything right from the ensuring that halal certificate is still valid, you know, and the company producing the product is also got halal certificate, and so on, so that we will have a more confident. Yeah, the current system that available then that and also used widely, they don't hold responsible. It's up to the consumer to hold the responsible if they buy the halal product through this channel. Yeah, and they will pass your order to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer through the system will deliver to you. But the software developers will not hold responsible. But if you can have one software developed, and this software will hold responsible and ensure that the halal product delivered to the consumer is really halal, then is very, very good. And that segment is still open, you know, and open to everybody to develop it and then being used. And maybe can start within the country, and in the future you can expand that to also some other countries all over the world. Yeah, that's my answer for that question. Thank you.
Okay, in addition to that, so as far as digital marketing is concerned, so especially during COVID-19, it becomes a must for us to empowering that kind of the practice, right? And you have to, as you know, that Negara Brunei Islam is a very small country with half million people only, compared to Indonesia, compared to Malaysia and Thailand, so on. So therefore, we are very humble. Meaning we are here refer to Brunei Darussalam are very humble. What we call in regard to the digital markets, we are not aggressive as in Indonesia or as in Malaysia. But I found that through my observations, especially during COVID-19, even though, for example, Pasar Malam in Negara Brunei Darussalam, because Pasar Malam in Negara Brunei is the biggest one, we have only one in Kadong. Only one in Kadong, right? Because as I mentioned to you, not encouraged to have open punya market in Negara Brunei unless necessity, not like in Malaysia. Every daerah there is a Pasar Malam, right? Indonesia also Pasar Malam. In Brunei, only one, the big one. The another one is not considered as Pasar Malam. But during COVID-19, I found that they also established the website for the purpose of delivering food to the customer. And then very good, attractive. And besides that, I found that so many restaurant and companies, especially the owners of the restaurants, try to what we call market their product or their food through social media, especially Facebook, Instagram, and so on. So therefore, you know that in Negara Brunei Darussalam, we got assistance, and also with our doa, our case of COVID-19 is not so high. So nowadays, I think less than 10 cases, right? Alhamdulillah. And because the people here are very disciplined, follow the SOP very well, and the instruction of the government. And including of that, no doubt the people also try to use online marketing, or what we call digital marketing, in order to make sure that the economy can be grow from time to time. As you know, before COVID-19, most of the people in Negara Brunei Darussalam spend the money outside Brunei, especially in Miri or in Sabah and Sarawak. And during COVID-19, we found that the economic growth in Negara Brunei Darussalam, based on the money changing, based on what we call the pertukaran duit. So meaning that what we call the GDP of Negara Brunei Darussalam become more better, right, compared to non-COVID in the situation. So in other words, digital marketing is a must. But how to develop that? I think I propose Indonesia have to lead also, because you have many expertise in info and technology and so on. But no doubt, Brunei also will play the role, even though with a small contribution or sharing, but we do something. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Prof. Shuhaimi, Prof. Nurdeng. Prof. Yasini, I think I have something come out in my mind about the product innovation that happened today. Some of the product claim about it halalness. As an example, there is refrigerator that claim it's halal refrigerator or halal detergent. So it's not about halal to eat and using as cosmetic. What do you think about the innovation about or the claim about halal product, detergent, refrigerator, or television, and others? Is there any comment from Prof. Shuhaimi, please? I would like to know the concept of halal for the innovative product. Nurdeng?
Okay, maybe I respond first. The first, number one, we have to understand what is the meaning of innovations, right? Innovations, maybe if we look perspective technology, is easy to understand the innovation. For example, what has been produced by Institute Penyelidikan Produk Halal by Prof. Dr. Shuhaimi, the product called as Hafiz, the way to detect what we call non-halal product by using the Hafiz, very good what we call a kit to be detected. But however, in UNISA, as you understand, halal education in UNISA, what we call just start in 2017. But we are thinking also the aspect of innovations or creative product. That is why I already what we can try to implement the concept of one student, one innovation or one product. So, but slowly, because we have very limited academic staff, we have also very small scientists in UNISA, and you have to understand that UNISA is mainly focused on social science or Sharia aspect rather than science, technology, and so on. But with the establishment of Halal and Thayyiban Research Center, what we call the innovations will be incorporated step by step, as I mentioned to you. When I come to Universiti Islam Sultan Sharif Ali or UNISA, because normally the people here very abstract in terms of their understanding. If you want to study about Usuluddin, Sharia, as well as Arabic, all these ones very difficult to put into what we call innovation. But with the coming of the Halal Thayyiban Research Center, when I learned from the Pusat Institute Penyelidikan Produk Halal, we have to understand that innovation is a part of our life today. In order to make sure that the modern life appreciate our product, we have to have also innovations not only just for science and technology, maybe also for the social science, maybe innovation in terms of halal calendar, or maybe, for example, to produce halal soap, or maybe to produce very small one, begin with very small one, but the students may know that what we call halal bottle, for example, halal pen, and so on. So this is a halal book. So the way how they design that, it's easy to design, but at least there. So this is the way that I understand the meaning of innovations, not only just to focus about something related to the science and engineering, but also something related to the Sharia must be innovate also, must also, for example, social science must be innovate also. For example, when I was in UPM, there is what we call a professor who tried to measure right the level of people belief by using very innovative way. Even though we understand that the method of belief is only God who know the best, but sometimes it's very difficult for the common people to understand. Why not? We try to measure in according to our innovation instrument. So finally, with the professor there, including also Professor Abdul Latif, what we call publish so many articles in relation to that kind of the thing. So the people appreciate. So in another words, innovation is a must, but we play our role as a Sharia as well as a social scientist, but we need also the scientists to have more and more. Thank you very much. This is my humble opinion.
Thank you, Prof. Nurdeng. Prof. Shuhaimi,
Yeah,
what do you think about halal kulkas?
If I may add to what Dr. Nurdeng has said just now, I agree with the innovation that everybody must do innovation from time to time, R&D, because we must produce something at par or better than product produced currently by other people, by other countries, just to make sure that the survival of the business, of the economy, it's not like competing, but we have to always be at par and survive in whatever activity that we do through innovation. But in terms for halal innovation, because in example in Malaysia, the halal certification divided into several scheme. We don't give halal certificate to anything. So for example, we have halal. For example, we have food scheme, we have cosmetic scheme, we have pharmaceutical scheme. We only offer that certification scheme after we develop the system lah. Basically, we have to look what are the advantage, disadvantage, what are the capability that we have, what are the weaknesses that we might come later, until we satisfied, then we offer the scheme. But new product, like for example, you said we have a refrigerator, apply for halal, so they have to study whether it's really important, it's really needed to have this halal certificate for refrigerator or not. And they have to look at maybe, when you develop the refrigerator, you have to look at the electronic, you have to look at the safety aspect, you have to look at the ergonomic and so on. And is that really under halal or under some other standard certification? Which one is more important? So because when they have that scheme developed, then they can give halal certificate. But for now, we don't have that scheme to give halal certificate to like electronic device, refrigerator, rice cooker, and so on. But when we use that instrument to produce food, then get halal certification, that process will fall under halal food scheme. So in that halal food scheme will explain, mention that when we want to produce halal food using this rice cooker, make sure that this rice cooker will be used only to produce halal. You know, if you use this rice cooker intermittently or one day for halal product, halal food, another day for non-halal food, then they will not give you halal certificate. So that is the process that we have currently lah in Malaysia, and I think the system also being practiced in other countries as well. Yeah.
So I think it's part of marketing area that they need claim because they saw that the market and the demand of Muslim and halal market is very big, just like you mentioned. Is that right? Okay, thank you, Prof. Shuhaimi, Prof. Nurdeng. Prof. Yasini, are we still gonna continue until 11, I guess?
Yes, maybe one question, maybe it's possible from
One more question.
one more question maybe, yeah, from stepping here. From Dr. Megawati and also related to question for Dr. Sufrin. Dr. Megawati asked about could you explain about the halal certification process in Malaysia and Brunei? Is there any obligation according to regulation for related to the halalness of products to obtain a certificate? Are there any penalties for not having certificate? What agency that carries out this legislation? And also regarding the question from Dr. Sufrin asked about the critical.
I think it's the same domain about the regulation and mechanisms. Is it obligation or is it voluntary? Something like that.
Okay, maybe I will respond first. Right,
Please.
I will respond first. Yeah, I just to read the Chata Ali as what we call prepared by my student. So Chata Ali in order to get what we call halal certificate. Because if I can show to you from this is the Chata Ali here. Sorry, not very clear, but I would like to read from this. Okay, number one from pemohon. Dapatkan borang daripada bahagian kawal makanan halal di negara Brunei Darussalam, mungkin melalui sesawang juga. And then kalau lengkap, maka ada ujian penyelia halal akan diadakan. Dia ada ujian halal. Sebab semua punya halal tu dia kena ada penyelia halal. At least ada 2 orang. So selepas pada tu dia ada audit laporan akan dijalankan. And then selepas pada tu kalau lulus, laporan pengauditan dimusyawarahkan. And then selepas pada tu laporan dimusyawarahkan lagi oleh Majlis Agama Islam Brunei. And then finally kalau lulus CJ halal diperolehi dengan bayaran lah. Tapi bayaran yang saya difahamkan di sini taklah begitu mahal sangat. Jadi itulah maksudnya proses ataupun catat aliran untuk memperolehi CJ halal secara umum. Secara umum. So secara ringkas pun macam tu saja. Okey, terima kasih.
Yeah. Agree with Dr. Nurdeng. Actually, in Malaysia also the process about the same. I think in other country also about the same lah. We have the flowchart and so on. Yeah. Just to maybe explain about the question on is it compulsory to apply halal certificate? In Malaysia, it's not compulsory to apply halal certificate. The application for halal certificate is voluntarily basis. So yeah, so don't expect that all the product marketed sold in Malaysia are halal. No, whatever if the product has the halal logo, then we know that the product is halal. And if the product has no halal logo, then it's up really to you whether to consume or not. Yeah, if you are confident, look at the label. There is no critical ingredient or whatsoever. Then yeah, maybe. It's up to you to consume it or not. Yeah, and but if you know the company apply for halal certificate and then being granted the halal certificate, then the company has to follow all the requirements, regulation, and so on. They have to follow. And if the company found to abuse or to to use non-halal or whatever in the ingredient letter, then they can be charged. They can be penalized, they can be brought to court. So that is the process lah in Malaysia. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Prof, this is a lot of questions, but we have limited time. What do you think?
Yes, I think it's enough right now, Prof. Yossi. We are at 11 o'clock sharp. So I think we can end it our presentation. Thank you, Prof. Shuhaimi and Prof. Nurdeng Deuraseh. Thank you very much for the inspiration. I have some note from our speaker, Prof. Yosini. If I am allowed to share about my note, that from Prof. Shuhaimi, Halalan Thayyiban is good for our body and soul. But it's not only for Muslim, it's also good for human health. And halal and Thayyib market have a big opportunity, especially for business industry, because the demand is high and getting increased by year to year. And education about halal is really needed, and it's continuing with Prof. Nurdeng, because the theme that raised by Prof. Nurdeng Deuraseh is about the challenge for Halalan Thayyiban is not only for business practice, it's also for education and research that Brunei already trying to develop the scholar for understanding and exploring about Halalan Thayyiban. And especially day by day, there are so many product innovation that need understood about it halalness. I think that my notes, hopefully that it's accept by Prof. Shuhaimi and Prof. Nurdeng about my note about your presentation.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you
very
very
good
much.
note.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Nurdeng, Prof. Shuhaimi. So maybe the next agenda is we will give it to Mas Kemal. Mas Kemal already joined with us. I think it's the moment foto bersama, photo session. Mas Kemal, silakan if you want to continuing the next agenda.
Okay.
The time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ganca. Now, let me present a certificate for a speaker and moderator, especially who present and guide today event is very well. The first for Dr. Shuhaimi. Let me. Okay, the first certificate of appreciation for Dr. Shuhaimi, Professor Dr. Shuhaimi Mustafa as a speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamal, and to organizers for inviting me to this conference. Thank you very much again.
The second certificate for Prof. Dr. Nurdeng Deuraseh as a speaker.
Thank you very much for the appreciation. Yeah, thank you.
Also for the moderator, Dr. Gancar Chandra Premananto.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ujang, Mas Kemal, for the opportunity.
Yes. And the last for Professor Dr. Yosini Deliana as a moderator.
Thank you, Prof. Yossi.
Okay, before we finish this event for today, let's take a photo together. And for all the participants, please turn on the camera. Okay? Dimohon kepada seluruh peserta yang mengikuti webinar hari ini, dimohon untuk menyalakan fitur kameranya. Pengambilan gambar akan dilakukan beberapa kali karena halaman yang tersedia cukup banyak. Oke, saya hitung. 3, 2, 1. Bentar. Sekali lagi. 3, 2, 1. halaman ketiga.
Prof. Shuhaimi, Prof. Nurdeng, I think we have to create more collaboration about creating halal hub between
Insyaallah,
Indonesia,
insyaallah.
Malaysia, and Brunei.
Ya, insyaallah.
Insyaallah.
Ganjar.
Prof. Ujang will find another agenda, I guess, to connecting our
Ya,
institution.
ya. Ya, insyaallah. Ya, insyaallah. And thank you, Prof. Ujang, for inviting me to this conference.
Thank you, Prof. Ujang. Very good job.
Yes.
Very good job. Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak. Until this 11, there's still more than 100 people.
Selamat Hari Raya, Dr. Nurdeng. Maaf saya batin.
Ya, selamat Hari Raya, Prof. Terima kasih.
Taqabbalallah minna wa minkum.
Ya.
Buya sini.
Dan selamat Hari Raya kepada semua.
Ya, sama-sama Prof. Shuhaimi.
Ya.
Terima kasih.
Baik, Prof. Ujang.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih,
Teaching
Pak.
live.
Oke.
Siap. Siap, Profit.
Terima kasih semua.
Sampai teruskan. Mantap, mantap.
Terima kasih. Terima kasih. Syarat.
Ya. Thank you, thank you.
Terima kasih.
Ya, nice to meet you semuanya. Yo. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you, Prof. Shuhaimi, Prof. Yosini, Dr. Ganjar, Prof. Nurdeng. Thank you very much.
Very much. Yeah.
Masih Bapak Ibu.
Please announce the certificate, Kemal.
Yes, Prof. Selamat siang Bapak Ibu. Seperti yang sudah saya lampirkan pada kolom chat, untuk mengakses sertifikat serta materi presentasi hari ini, silakan Bapak Ibu dapat mengaksesnya